Welcome to Team Blue, Ferreira's safety orientation. At Ferreira, safety is a core value. When you think safety, think family. You are now a member of our family. And as an employee, you're our most valuable asset. Safety is paramount and is given equal consideration to production, scheduling, and budget. Safety is everyone's responsibility, and in that, with management commitment and employee involvement, we can achieve safety. We attempt to focus on zero incidents, one day at a time. Our goal is to fulfill our work objectives without incident. We will set up our work with defenses, so if an incident does occur, we end up with a safe result, revisit our tailboard, communicate the issue, and return to work safely. Ferreira does have a comprehensive safety program. At Ferreira, we believe everyone has personal safety responsibility. This includes reporting to work in good physical condition, being mentally alert, not using or possessing alcohol or illicit drugs on our jobs, being responsible for your own safety and the safety of others. This includes members of the public near our work site, maintaining a heightened personal safety awareness of the work environment itself. When uncertainties arise or changes happen, take the safest course. Sometimes that safest course may be exercising a 5-minute or even a 5-second stop timeout. Looking at what the dangers are, setting up defenses, revisiting our job briefing, communicating those issues to anybody else on the job site, and re-engaging our work safely. Be positive and proactive in your attitude towards safety. It can have an impact on preventing incidents and also has a huge impact on the way others view safety on our job sites. Everybody does have the right and obligation to exercise stop work authority. That means questioning, stopping, and correcting any unsafe act or condition, regardless of how long it takes to correct. And being involved in our Stretch and Flex program. Taking shortcuts is an individual choice, and we can control how we act. We need to lead by example and not take those shortcuts, regardless of our position or job title. We should do the job right the first time with no excuses. Shortcuts can potentially cut a life short, whether it be yours, a coworker's, or a member of the public. No task is so important that it cannot be done safely. 90% of incidents are from unsafe acts versus the 10% from unsafe conditions. There is no implied sense of urgency to complete work here at Ferreira. Rushing is unacceptable. Those shortcuts increase risk and undermine our safety. Following safe work practices and procedures is important here at Ferreira. It promotes a culture of commitment because regulations and rules in and of themselves do not ensure safety. It reduces risk and minimizes exposures. Actively participate in the job safety briefing and the activity hazard analysis for the work around you. Following safe work practices and procedures also promotes awareness that safety procedures and expectations must be followed. Understand your work assignment and make sure you are fully qualified to do the job. If you are not trained to do the job, do not do that job. If you are unsure how to do something, ask. A disregard of safe work practices or other safety instruction could result in disciplinary action. At Ferreira, planning our work and using clear and concise communication is of the utmost importance. We plan our work and we work that plan. Sometimes work does change as it's happening. We're going to effectively manage that change by exercising a stop timeout and making sure that the work that we're doing is being done safely. We use daily processes such as job briefings and weekly toolbox talks to promote hazard recognition and control. We effectively communicate to ensure that employees receive adequate work instructions. We ensure employees have the skill and training relative to all assigned tasks. We encourage participation and engagement. Some of the focus areas for that planning and communication would be work zone traffic control, utility damage prevention, and emergency preparedness. You may not enter a permit-required confined space if you are not trained and authorized by Ferreira. A confined space is one that is being large enough for an employee to enter and perform work. It has limited or restricted means for exit or entry, and it's not designed for continuous occupancy. In addition to those three items above, for a permit-required confined space, it would contain or could contain a hazardous atmosphere, have material that could engulf an entrant, have an internal configuration that could trap someone, or contains any other serious safety or health risk. The following information is informational only and does not constitute sufficient training for entry into a permit-required confined space. The team must complete an entry permit. That entry permit must be signed off by a member of management prior to work being completed. Atmospheric testing must be completed at the top before removing the lid of the area to be accessed. After the lid is removed, we're going to test the atmosphere at the top, middle, and bottom of where the entrant will be. We must provide ventilation if the air monitor indicates there is an atmospheric hazard. We're going to place a manhole retrieval system for the entrant to wear harness and be attached to that retrieval system. An attendant with CPR and first aid must be present, and we must conduct a hazard assessment to determine additional controls, such as additional PPE, FR clothing, or other items. Ferreira is committed to providing a safe, productive work environment for its employees. To meet this commitment, Ferreira has implemented a drug and alcohol policy, which includes pre-employment testing, random testing, reasonable suspicion testing, and post-incident testing. Anyone refusing to take a drug and alcohol test is subject to immediate termination. A copy of that drug and alcohol policy is available for your review. We touched on emergency action plans a little while ago. Let's discuss them a bit further now. All minor first aid injuries will be treated on site. In the event of non-critical injuries, employees will be referred to an off-site facility such as a Concentra, urgent care, or other prearranged medical provider as indicated in the project-specific health and safety plan. In the event of an emergency, call 911 for outside emergency response or other project location-specific emergency numbers as indicated in the project-specific health and safety plan, and it should also be indicated on your job briefing every day. Emergency action plans shall include a map and directions, and the information will be available on site. For our work site shall have the following emergency response equipment readily available: fire extinguishers, first aid kits, eye wash stations if required, burn kits if required, and emergency spill kits. Ferreira is dedicated to being a good steward of the environment. In that, we're going to collect and remove all solid waste, including construction debris, and segregate recyclable wastes from non-recyclable wastes. We will not discharge any material to any sewer or storm drain without prior approval. Ensure that spill kits are located on site, and report all spills to the environmental point of contact. Only operate, service, or repair machinery or equipment if you are qualified and authorized to do so. That authorization comes from Ferreira. Equipment must be inspected at the beginning of each shift. If there's any defects affecting safety, they must be reported to your supervisor and be repaired before the equipment is operated. If you operate equipment, you are responsible for its safe operation. Ground personnel must remain visible to the operator and establish positive communication before approaching any equipment in use. Always stay outside the area within the swing radius of rotating machines such as cranes, excavators, or backhoes. When getting on or off equipment, always use the stairs or ladder and always use 3 points of contact. Never jump off of equipment. Never ride any machinery, equipment, loads, or hooks unless approved safety facilities or devices are used. Use properly trained spotters where blind spots or other hazards dictate. Equipment must never be operated within 10 feet of high energized voltage electric lines up to 50,000 volts. Higher voltages require greater distances. This does not apply to qualified electrical workers, but qualified electrical workers must maintain minimum approach distances. All equipment must be safely parked and secured before it's left unattended, even for short periods. All excavation and trenching done on Ferreira job sites will be done under the direct supervision of a competent person. When working in trenches, stay away from excavating equipment and stay within the shoring, sloping, or other protection. Use only safe crossings for crossing open trenches and never jump over an open trench. Never enter any trench or excavation that is not properly shored, slope shielded, or otherwise protected from cave-in. Remember the 5-4-3-2 rule. At 5 feet, the excavation must have benching, shoring, sloping, or other protection from cave-in. At 4 feet, we must evaluate the need for atmospheric testing, and also at 4 feet, there must be a ladder every 25 feet in that excavation. That ladder must extend at least 3 feet past the top of the excavation for egress, and all spoils piles must be kept at least 2 feet from the edge of the excavation. When employees are exposed to walking or working surfaces with an unprotected side or edge 6 feet or more above or lower level, one of the following means of fall protection must be used: a guardrail system, a safety net system, a warning line system, a safety monitoring system, or a personal fall arrest system. The key components of a personal fall arrest system are a full body harness, shock-absorbing lanyard or a retractable lanyard, and an anchorage point capable of withstanding 5,000 pounds. All personal fall arrest system components shall be inspected daily prior to use. If damaged or defective, immediately red tag and remove from service. When fighting a small fire in its incipient stage with a fire extinguisher, remember the acronym PASS. Pull the pin, aim at the base of the flames, squeeze the handle, and sweep at the base of the flames. Regardless of the size of the fire, always call 911 in the event of any fire, and make sure you have access to a safe exit when attempting to extinguish any fire. If applicable, have your foreman demonstrate the use of wildfire prevention equipment on your job site. When operating a Ferreira vehicle, remember your actions reflect Ferreira. We expect you to drive like a professional, be courteous, don't tailgate, use your turn signals, wear your seatbelt, don't drive aggressively, and obey speed limits. In short, obey the law. There are many causes for collisions. Be mindful of weather, the road conditions itself, your speed, tailgating, inattention, your health, fatigue, being under the influence of drugs or alcohol, inexperience, other drivers near you, your vehicle condition, and people's attitude when they drive. Distracted driving has become a primary contributing factor in vehicle incidents. Remember these simple rules for safe driving. Keep your eyes on the road, pull over to read directions, when practical, put your phone on Do Not Disturb mode. Keep your phone out of reach to avoid temptation. Make all adjustments before driving. Don't reach for items while driving. Avoid phone calls, even hands-free, when able. Stay focused on the road. Keep your emotions in check. Turn your radio down. Listen out for hazards around you. And again, when practical, put your phone on Do Not Disturb mode. Now let's look at a video. What happens when you don't do those things? As the employer, Ferreira must notify you that there are hazardous chemicals on our work sites. A chemical inventory shall be kept for all chemicals on site, and the chemical name must match the name on the safety data sheet, also known as an SDS. That SDS for each chemical on the list must be maintained and made available to each employee. When chemicals are delivered, examine containers to ensure they are properly labeled. When another contractor's employees may be exposed to hazardous chemicals on our site, a copy of the HazCom program and SDS will be provided for them. On the right-hand side, please note these pictograms and what each picture represents. Let's discuss hot work, which includes burning, cutting, and welding. During cutting, burning, or welding operations, an appropriately rated fire extinguisher must be immediately available in that work area. Fire extinguishers are not to be tampered with or removed from their assigned locations. Appropriate PPE, including face, hand, eye, body, and where necessary, respiratory protection, will be used by personnel performing hot work. Compressed gas cylinders will be secured in an upright position. Oxygen cylinders in storage will be separated from fuel gas cylinders and other combustible materials by at least 20 feet or by a non-combustible barrier at least 5 feet tall. Valve caps will be secured on cylinders when they're not in use, and flashback arresters, reverse flow check valves, gauges, hoses, torches, and electric arc welding leads shall be inspected prior to each use. Shields shall be used to protect other employees or third parties from arc flash. Good housekeeping is important on Ferreira job sites to prevent injuries. Housekeeping is everyone's responsibility. Housekeeping contributes to first impressions of the operation, how owners, senior management, the public, and our customers look at us. Maintain a clean and clear work site. Remember, a clean work site is a safe work site. Clean up as you go. Make that part of your daily routine. Good housekeeping increases the overall efficiency on the work site. Poor housekeeping creates hazards that can lead to injuries and create fire hazards. Housekeeping also applies to everything on job sites, such as trucks, Connex boxes, gang boxes, and material storage areas. When stripping forms, always pull or bend down any protruding nails. All Ferreira employees shall report incidents to their supervisor in a timely manner and cooperate during the investigation. For utility damage, it must be reported immediately to the superintendent. For personal injuries, no matter how minor, they must be reported to the site superintendent or safety supervisor. Damage to company equipment, private sector equipment or vehicles or property must be reported immediately. All vehicle accidents must be reported to supervision immediately, and the police must be called so that a police report is made available. Near misses and good catches are incidents that could have caused property damage or injury but did not and should be reported, so we could track trends and possibly change the way that supervision and management does their work to provide a safer work environment for you. When using ladders will be a 4-to-1 ratio or roughly a 75-degree angle. To figure out if you're meeting this, put your feet at the very base of the ladder and extend your arms straight out. If you're just barely touching the ladder, you are meeting this requirement. Only non-conductive ladders will be used on Ferreira jobs. Do not use the top step of a step ladder. Always face the ladder when ascending and descending. If defective, immediately red tag the unit and remove it from service. Typically, discarding the ladder after rendering it unusable is a best practice. Ladders must be inspected each day prior to use, and you must know the nature of fall hazards prior to using a ladder. When handling materials, consider ways to reduce manual material handling. Have materials delivered or stored close to where they will be used to avoid double handling. Materials should be accessible without having to reach overhead. Store materials at waist height whenever possible. Practice safe lifting techniques and do not lift, carry, push, or pull more than physical capabilities allow. During the lifting component, position yourself as close to the load as possible. Bend at the knees and not your back. Keep your head up, chest out, and straighten your back. Lift in a smooth, non-jerking motion. Make sure walking and working surfaces are clear and dry. Slips, trips, and falls are a major contributing factor with regard to back injuries. Take mini breaks when performing strenuous tasks so that muscles can relax and recover. And also participate in the Stretch and Flex pre-work activity stretching program to help employees increase their overall flexibility and range of motion. Personal protective equipment, also known as PPE, is required at all times by all project personnel, subcontractors, suppliers, owner representatives, inspectors, and visitors. This includes hard hats, high visibility clothing, safety glasses, safety footwear, long pants and shirt with a minimum of 4-inch sleeves. When doing overhead transmission and distribution work, long sleeves are required. Gloves providing a minimum ANSI 3 cut rating will be used. At Ferreira Power West, a minimum of ANSI cut 4 rating will be used. There are limited task-specific exceptions. Speak to your local safety professional to find out what these might be. Other task-specific PPE may include, but not limited to, hearing protection, protective chaps, dielectric gloves and sleeves, personal fall arrest systems, metatarsal guards when jackhammering on level ground, flame-resistant clothing, respirators, and personal flotation devices. In addition to this general safety orientation, you may be required to complete a site or client-specific orientation, which may include a review of the project description, which is specific to the project you'll be on, site-specific health and safety plan, or HASP, an owner or site safety requirements. For more detailed information, questions may be directed to your supervisor on your job site. Good roadway safety and traffic control areas are important to prevent injury on Ferreira job sites. Remember, you can't control the traffic, only warn them. Place traffic signs and cones according to the traffic control plan that typically follows the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices. Remember that some states have their own Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices. Make sure you dress to be seen, stay within the work zone, and remember to protect pedestrians and the motoring public. When setting up a good work zone, we should put our traffic control devices out in accordance with our traffic control plan that's been approved, as well as the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices. We should try to tell a story with our cones and signs by pointing out the advanced warning area, the transition area, the activity area, and the termination area. Silica is a mineral. Crystalline is the most hazardous form of it, and quartz is the most common form. Exposure to respirable crystalline silica health effects include silicosis, chronic obstructive pulmonary disorder or COPD, tuberculosis, kidney disease, and lung cancer. Some common silica exposure activities include saw cutting, jackhammering, drilling and chipping, coring, milling and grinding, hydraulic breaker with a hoe ram, street sweeping, grading, and excavation of silica-containing materials. Some of the controls include engineering controls like wet methods, vacuum use, air monitoring and PPE, a respiratory protection program, required or voluntary, and eye and face protection. Wet cutting is considered the most effective practical method to reduce silica dust exposures. Effective wet methods control the exposure directly at the source. If the tool is not equipped with an integrated water delivery system, a hose or pump sprayer can be used to supply water at the point of cutting and impact. If wet methods are not feasible, a vacuum dust collection system with a HEPA filter could be utilized. Visible dust is a general indicator of the potential presence of respirable silica dust. Tools can be dangerous and are only to be used for the tasks they are designed for. Some tools require qualification by the employer prior to their use. Ask before using an unfamiliar tool. If necessary, refer to the operator's manual for more information. Never use a tool that is defective. Never remove handles, guards, or safety devices. Never handle a tool by its cord. And never perform maintenance on a tool that is energized. All tools and their condition on the job site are the responsibility of Ferreira, regardless of ownership, and this includes employee-owned tools. All tools shall be inspected daily prior to use. If damaged or defective, immediately tag out and remove from service. Stop work authority is so important that we need to review it. Every person on a Ferreira job site is responsible for safety and quality, and everyone has the authority and obligation to stop any unsafe work practice or condition and report it to their supervisor or safety representative, so we can set up defenses to ensure that we have safe, quality work. Depending on your job title or work location, there are other items that you'll need to complete for this onboarding. Some of those items may include review of union agreements, union and employer agreed to safety rules, an injury and illness prevention plan, otherwise known as an IIPP, and customer mandated training items. It is imperative that you understand the content of this training, as you are who safety begins with. And please make sure to complete your signature sheet for this training and hand it back in prior to your departure today.